Hi, my name is Alex, and today's podcast is Living History with Alex. Today is a very special episode because I'm interviewing none other than my own father, Chase. So, what is your full name and where were you born?
My full name is Chase Allen Provencher, and I was born in Madison Heights, Michigan, and I grew up in East Detroit, Michigan.
What do you remember most about serving before 9/11?
I went in 1997, so I remember the years before that. That was when I just got out of high school, and my first base in the end of 1997 was Okinawa, Japan. So they sent me straight over to Okinawa, Japan. I spent 3.5 years over there, and then right when I got out of the military was when September 11th happened. But I remember the 3.5 years before that was when I served in Okinawa, and it was like a real special time for me. Is when I was in AFSOC, which is Air Force Special Operations Command. I worked in C-130s, and my job was to work on infrared cameras and night vision goggles. And that was the time also when I got to travel the world. I was just a young kid from Michigan. I was only 19 when I went in, and then I traveled to several different countries. Went to Australia, Korea. I went to Indonesia, Philippines, Thailand. I went all over the place when I was in Southeast Asia. It was a good time.
What inspired you to rejoin?
I was out for about 8 years, and then I wanted to look into the reserves to see if there was anything that I could do. And I wasn't sure if that was even something I could do, but when I went to talk to a recruiter, they said that they had art jobs. So I was an air reserve technician. I'd never heard of that before. So it was something that I was interested in. So I ended up joining the reserves first. I did maybe about 6 months in the reserves, and then I decided I was going to join full-time to be an air reserve technician.
So, did you join because of 9/11 too? And as we all know, 9/11 was a major attack on U.S. soil that staggered the U.S.'s confidence, and a lot of people came in and decided to serve.
I didn't immediately join. I talked to some of the people that were in at the time, and we weren't really sure exactly what mission we were supposed to do. So I ended up staying out for about 8 years. I was a civilian, and I did a lot of different things when I was on the outside. I ended up starting my own business, and I did college, and then I eventually got back in 8 years later to restart my career.
What was your experience with 9/11?
9/11 happened about a month and a half after I got out of the military, and I remember it was just a very vivid thing. I was working with my dad doing carpentry, and I remember that day very vividly, and I just remember how much of an impact that had on me. That was just, I know a lot of people had the feeling that our country was really safe and that nobody could attack us, and it was just very shocking to me to see the events that happened, and it was something that was very emotional for me.
It was very scary for a country when that happened. What were your main roles or specialties during each period of service?
Like I said, the first years that I was in, I was a back shop technician, so my job was to work on the C-130s. So I worked on an infrared camera that went on the C-130s. I did ops checks on that. I also worked in the back shop. I did night vision goggles for a support squadron. I did when we would fly to different places doing temporary duties, I would fly with the airplanes, and we would work missions with the Navy SEALs and then Special Forces for different countries. So every time we'd go to a different country, we'd have a training mission or sometimes real world missions that we would do. And I was just one of the support guys. I was a maintenance guy.
Where have you been, though?
Let's see. Like I said, when I was overseas, I went to Indonesia, Philippines, Thailand, to Australia, and then when I restarted my career as an art, I've been to Canada. I've been out west to Las Vegas a few times. I've been out to Utah and also Canada, and then twice deployed to Qatar.
How did public support or perception in the military shift between your first and second service?
Yeah, the first service that I did, it was before 9/11, and I remember afterwards it felt like the whole world had changed. Everything was different after that, and coming back in later, I came in more with a different set of eyes. I was more of an adult then. I was probably, I was probably 31, I think, when I first joined back up. And I remember the world had just changed a lot, even as you see like some of the uniforms that we have in front of us. It was the first uniform that I wore. This is when I was a senior airman. And then when I came back in, the uniform had even changed. So we wore this one, which was the ABU, the Airman Battle Uniform, and it was like a totally different pattern. So the world had changed by then. And even I was working on C-130s before, and then my next squadron was fighter jets. So even going into a different world, it was just a big change for me. But I was also working on some back shop stuff, which was very similar to what I was doing before.
So could you tell me about that uniform there and what else you brought us today?
Yeah, this is the current uniform that I'm wearing. This is the one I wore today to work, actually. This is a pattern that they use between different branches. So at first, I think it was an Army uniform. So the Army wears this, the Air Force wears it, and also the Space Force. And this was a pattern they came up with when we were in Afghanistan. So they ended up changing from this uniform. I want to say around 2018 is when they officially changed to this uniform. So this is the current one we're wearing. And then some of these other items that I brought, I've got some coins. We call these challenge coins. So people will collect these throughout their career. Sometimes they're for things that you do for merit, or sometimes they could be for a trip that you go to. And then like this one I have here is one for my career. It was my old career field, and this one actually says AFSOC, which is Air Force Special Operations Command. And then you have ones for like my old career field, which was avionic sensors. And this one was this is when your mommy and I ran the Air Force Marathon. That was back in 2019, so it's got the date on it. And then that was something special that we did. So these are part of my collection that I like. And then I also have this jet, which has an old paint job that one of the commanders had several years ago, and I had him sign it for me. So one of the old commanders, I brought it to him, and it was his retirement ceremony, and I brought it in a box, and I said, "Hey, sir, could you sign this jet for me?" And he looked in the box, and he was like, "Whoa!" He was so excited, and he signed it for me. So he put his autograph on it.
Did you feel like you were making history as of today?
Yeah, it's something I really didn't think about it when I was. Every day you go to work, it just feels like a normal job. But then there's days where you think about what you're doing, and there are some historical moments that have happened throughout my career that just every once in a while you just sit there and think about the fact that you are a part of history. You know, you met some of the other gentlemen that I've worked with before, and those guys have their own stories and their own history. And I think every one of us has like we are part of the history of the military, whether we like it or not.
Okay. What advice would you give to someone like me?
I would say that first of all, I'm very proud of you, Alex, for doing this podcast. It's something that I know is a big risk for you. And I would say to any kid out there that's working like Alex is, that if you want to take a risk with something, just remember that to follow your dreams, and then if it's a good thing, to just pursue it, and don't let anybody that's a naysayer get in your way. There's going to be obstacles and things that come up along your path, but just keep doing what you're doing. I'm super happy. Your mom and I are very proud of you for doing this podcast.
Thank you. And are you proud of your service?
Yes, I'm definitely proud of my service. I've been in over 20 years, so it's just it goes like I've gone through a lot of retirement ceremonies, and people say that it goes by fast, and it just, you look back and it's just a blur, but I'm definitely proud of a lot of stuff that I've been able to do and accomplish.
That's it for today. Stay tuned and next time for more living history.